All right, now that you've had a chance to try this problem out on your own, I want to give you a quick rundown of how to graph this function. So when we gave you 5x plus 20 over x squared plus 2x minus 8, you should factor that into 5 times x plus 4 over x plus 4, divided also by x minus 2. You're going to see that x plus 4 is one of our factors that we can reduce out. So that's going to make our whole at x equals -4. We'll talk about that point in a second. But the simplified version of our function is now 5 over x minus 2. All right. So that's the basic function that we're working with now. Of course, we have to include the whole there in a second. So if I look briefly at this simplified function, we see a smaller degree on the top than in the bottom. So that tells us that the horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. And the vertical asymptote is whatever value makes that 0. So this is going to be x equals 2. So let me just quickly show you those two asymptotes. So x equals 2, we'll use a line. X equals 2 should be right down here. And then at y equals 0, we have a horizontal asymptote right there. All right. So from there, you need to figure out where the hole is. And to do that, we're going to use the simplified version of our function. So I'm going to substitute -4 into that function. We get 5 over -4 minus 2. That gives us 5 over -6. So I will say that that hole is at -4 comma -5/6. Okay, we're going to make that point right here. I'll just use a different color because I'm feeling crazy. And -4 and then comma -5/6. So I'm just going to do my best to draw a hole right. Oh, sorry, that's a line. Let's make a point. There we go. So -4 comma -5/6. We'll put it right there. All right. The other couple points that you should have included, well, you should have looked for an x-intercept, but since the numerator set equal to 0, well, 5 can't equal 0, so there is no solution for an x-intercept. But by plugging in 0 here, we can get 5 over 0 minus 2, which gives you the -5/2. So I'll graph that intercept as well, give you a different color. Fresh view, 0 and -5/2 is -2.5. So I'm going to put that right down here. Okay, so you can see that there's definitely a curve that's going to happen over here. The only other thing that we really need to look for is just a couple extra points to understand where this function is located. So I'm going to actually take that function, 5 over x minus 2. Okay, so y equals 5 over x minus 2. And when I go to make a table of values for a rational function, I pay very close attention to the denominator right here. So I'm trying to think of values that are going to make that denominator really clean. And by clean, I mean an integer like 1 or 2, or in this case, 5, because that would be good. 5 over 5 would give us something that we could graph. So personally, I like to use 3 in this scenario because 3 minus 2 will give us a 1. 5 over 3 minus 2 is just going to be 5 over 3 minus 2, which is 5 over 1. So 3 comma 5 should be on our graph. And then I'm trying to think of how can I make this -1? Well, if I said 1 minus 2, so we could plug in 1 there, and it would be 5 over 1 minus 2. And that gives us 5 over -1, so we've got 1 comma -5. Okay, so that's 2 points. And then I would probably just try and make this equal to 5. So that'd be 7 minus 2. So let's check x equals 7. 5 over 7 minus 2 is 5 over 5. So 7 comma 1 is another point on that function. So let's see if that's enough points to get an idea of how this is shaped. So x equals 3. So let's try 1, 2, 3 comma 5. It's going to be up there. 1 comma -5 is down here. And then 7 comma 1. So there's 7 and there's 1. If we wanted, we could get another point in there, but generally we like to try and have 5. And I'm just realizing this should not be a hole, so that should just be a filled in point. Yes, sorry about that. So we're going to draw a nice smooth curve through these, downward, follow the asymptote, maybe a little arrow there, and then we can draw this one just like that. And we'll put an arrow on it, and we'll call it a day. All right, so this has been 5x plus 20 over x squared plus 2x minus 8. Hope you enjoyed.